Welcome to Darasa Online. Here is our subject today. It is English Language 2. But again, here is our topic, which is appreciating literary works. But again, we have a subtopic of which we'll be sharing with you today. And our subtopic is it's a novel. In this subtopic, we'll be analyzing a novel or novels. As we'll be analyzing the novels, we'll be guided with a question. And that question asks, pick two characters from two readings. One character from each reading, and say, why do you dislike them? But again, the question wants you to use 4 points from each character. My dear students, the very important thing before going into depth of the question, you must understand the requirements of the question. What the question wants you to do. And this is a very important thing. Now, with this given question, look at the keywords that have to appear in your introduction. Being an essay question, you should understand the key term that you need to clarify as you'll be introducing your question. The key terms that need clarification as you start attempting this question. Now, in this question, one of the keywords that need clarification is characters. That you should understand, you should define or clarify this concept. Who are the characters? But again, you should understand again what the question wants you to do. After giving a clarification on the characters, then go further and look for an action verb, what the question wants you to do. And here, look at the word why. Now, with this particular word, why, that means you need to give reason as to why you dislike such characters. Students, having understood this action verb that the question wants you to give reasons, now think of the relevant texts or novels. Remember, not every novel fits to this particular question, or not every character fits to attempt this question. So, having gone through the novels that you'll be using in answering or attempting this question, then you'll be moving smoothly, going to the main body of the question, and later the conclusion. Now, let's start with an introduction. Now, here is an introduction. Here is our key term, that characters refers to participants in a literary work. Such participants can be a person, an object, or an animal. Characters are the ones who are given tasks to present in such given work, are being assigned different roles to play. And among the roles, one can say a character may be assigned to play a role like a responsible person or a irresponsible person. But again, a character may be assigned a role to play as a drunkard person, or a person with positive traits, or a person with bad traits. Now, with bad traits, is again will be answering the question that why you dislike such a person. Okay, now the introduction continues. One of the characters that I choose. Remember, you are instructed to choose characters and say why you dislike them. So the use of first personal pronoun like I is expected throughout. So one of the character that I choose to dislike is Chifranga from a novel titled A Man of the People by Chinua Achebe. Now, that is me, that I've chosen Chifranga, the character that I dislike. Now, think about yourself. You may choose even other characters because you are not bounded to choose Chifranga. You may choose either one. Okay, now again, the next character that I've chosen is Joseph Thompson from a novel titled The Beautiful and Not Born by Aiko Yamaha. Now, let's just start with the Chifranga, the first character that I've chosen, who is Chifranga. And Chifranga from A Man of the People is disliked due to his behavior. Now, what are those behavior that this man or this Chifranga has, which have pushed me to dislike such character? Students, remember that when you dislike somebody, obvious, you'll be focusing, you'll be confining yourself by giving the bad traits or the negative traits. It will be so weird seeing for you now, you dislike a person, then you start giving positives about such a person. That would be wrong. For example, seeing a student giving traits or positive traits, while at first you have admitted that you dislike such a person, that would be unusual. We don't expect such a thing. We expect negative traits of such a particular person, which pushed you to dislike such a person. Now, why Nanga or why Chifranga is being disliked? Students, you remember Chifranga is disliked because he entertains corruption to nourish in the society. In the novel, Nanga bribes the journalists so that they do not write his wrongdoings, which were openly displayed in his speech. You remember Chifranga, my dear students, was such a corrupt person who always wants to appear to the public as a good person. So to him, bribing the journalists that they should publish his good deeds and not about his bad or unacceptable doings. Remember during the speech delivery by Chifranga, where he couldn't deliver well his speech. Now he waits the journalists and bribes them so that tomorrow they publish all the positives, all the good things about him and not the wrong things or showing his incompetences. Similarly, in our society or in our societies, we have people of Nanga's type. We have some politicians who have this particular trait of bribing the journalists. But again, we also have journalists who accept bribes, who entertain bribes. The journalists who are corrupt, they always look for brown envelope in order to publish certain information. Now, with such a character like Chifranga, are not supposed to be there in our society. If we are to build a society which is morally upright, we need to get rid of these particular people. And if we have such a people in your society, if we have journalists in your society, such a people have to be rebuked at. My dear students, the same character, Chifranga, bribes Odiri £250, he stops from contesting the political post. He also wants to offer a scholarship to Odili to study abroad as a way, or as a technique that Chifranga runs or contests in that particular election without any opposition. He wants to win an election unopposed. You remember this incident because I understand that you read this book, this novel. So Chifranga, therefore, represents people who are morally corrupt. Characters like Chifranga, therefore, need to be not applauded in our society. If a society to prosper in all spheres of life, people like Chifranga have to be uprooted. We need people who are morally upright, who are not entertaining corruption. Students, ask yourself, do we have people of Nanga's type who tend to bribe people, to bribe fellow politicians when it comes to election? Some politicians have this particular behavior of bribing other politicians from other opposition party, so they drop from contesting, so as they run such campaign unopposed, and they become victorious without any opposition. Students, with such behavior, with such a trait of which you dislike it, at the end of your paragraph, you need to give an explanation. Such corrupt people should not be applauded in the society, should be taken off the office, should be voted out, and if need be, such a corrupt people should be taken to the court of law and answer the charges. We need people who fight against corruption. A society which is free from corruption is where we can realize the socio-economic and political development in the country. Students, let us move to second point. Here the point: the selfishness of Chifranga makes an individual dislike him. Now, the term selfishness means it's about caring about oneself, where a person is becoming so much concerned about his personal affairs. A person is busy enriching himself, accumulating wealth for himself, while others are starving, while others are living a miserable life. Now, Chifranga enjoys good life, while others are starving. Now, in the novel, Chifranga uses public money to enrich himself as he buys expensive car, expensive house in the city of Bori. Again, wears golden chains, wearing expensive clothes. In the same society of Nanga, there are people who are starving. There are beggars. But this tendency now of being selfish is something that is very bad. Why this man is accumulating wealth for himself? There are people in the hospital who do not even a Panadol or paracetamol. But this man is very rich. Now, this tendency, this behavior of being selfish is something that need to be rebuked at. People should stop from this behavior. People should get concerned about the welfare of others. There will be building a society which is justice, a society which will be prospering, where everyone find a reason as to why he or she lives in that particular society. In other words, Chifranga entertains classes. He he finds pleasure seeing other people or poor class starving, while himself driving expensive car, having all the meals that are needed in a day. Dear students, remember, at the end of your paragraph, you should say something that shows you really dislike that behavior of selfishness, because that's the core of the question. Students, let us move to the next point. The other reason Nanga is disliked because of his unfaithful husband to his wife, Margaret Nanga. My students, a person who is unfaithful, Nanga is a married person. He's married to Margaret. During their wedding, Odili witnessed this particular wedding. Now, Odili, as narrator of this particular novel, he tells us that despite the fact that this man is married, but he's still not a trustful person, as he makes love with other women. He goes out of the wedlock. Now, we see in the novel, Nanga makes love with Edna. Again, he makes love with Elsie. Again, he makes love with Agnes Akilo. Yet, he's married. Now, think of this tendency. Do you like it? Seeing a person, or seeing your father, or whoever makes love, or is unfaithful to the marriage, to his marriage. It's a behavior that needs to be rebuked at. It's a behavior that we need together to say no. Remember that the world now is exposed to so many diseases. Now, with this kind of behavior of being unfaithful, it endangers one health. There's so many sexual related diseases. Now, here, Nanga is practicing such kind of thing. Nanga endangers the life of his wife, Margaret. Now, having saying so, my dear students, also you have to have like 2 or 3 lines to tell. Do we have people like Nanga who are again unfaithful in your society? Are there people who are unfaithful, who make love with other women, who goes out of wedlock? Now, if they are there, then you should say something to dislike that people should stop from being unfaithful, and people should live a faithful life. The couple should be faithful to one another, so that they can sit together and build a good family. A good family is a good society. A good society makes us to have a good nation, and eventually will make the world a better place. But if you have such a people who are unfaithful, it will result into conflict and eventually family separation or disintegration. Now, if the family disintegrate, we see street children. From there again, we won't be building a society, we'll be destroying a society. This is such an immoral behavior that together we need to rebuke at it, or say no to such behavior. Dear students, let us move again to another point that tells us why we dislike such a person. Here we come. I dislike Chifranga because he entertains tribalism. Again, with the word tribalism means it's a form of favoritism where someone gets support or help in the line of tribe, or on the ground that a person shares the same tribe, that you're supporting somebody just because you share the same tribe. Now, with this behavior, we have seen this behavior, the way it has led to conflict or chaos in some countries. Remember Tutsi and Hutu. Kenya now is crying because of tribalism. That one is favored not because of his qualification, but because of the tribe he or she belongs. Now, here we are told that Nanga also entertains tribalism. If we build a society on the grounds of tribalism, then we are creating chaos, the result of which the country will be so much disintegrated, and there will be so much conflicts. Because you may be going to the public offices, again you see people are being employed on the ground of tribe and not on the ground of their credentials or qualifications. It's something, again, this behavior has to be stopped. It's a bad thing. Now, here in the novel, my students, Chifranga admits that most of the posts in the government are held by high-land tribes. So he wants to take Odili. Remember, Odili is in the village. Now, Nanga tells Odili that he should go to Bori, to the city. From there, he'll be given a post, a good post, so that he enjoys the national cake. So Nanga is taking Odili not because maybe he qualifies, but because they share the same tribe. He wants him to go to Bori, to the city, and offer him a good post that he can be able to enjoy the national cake. And he says most of the posts or employment posts are being held by tribe from the north or from the highland, of which Nanga is not happy with that. So he wants to take Odili to Bori so as it gives him a job. My dear students, now back to your society. Do we have such a people who entertains tribalism? Now it's you now, as you be writing your paragraph, to relate this point with what is happening in your society. Remember, literature reflects the social realities. What is taking place in the society is being reflected in the literature. So this question of saying, do we have such a people who entertain tribalism? Now, if they are there, then you should also have some lines in your paragraph to rebuke or to say no to such people who entertains tribalism. The consequences of tribalism are unbearable. So together we should say no to tribalism. Let's move to next point. Here we come. The irresponsibility behavior of Chifranga makes me or makes you, because you were asked to tell the reason why you dislike. So makes me or makes one to dislike him. Now, irresponsibility is an act or is a state where one fails to fulfill his duties accordingly. You have given us an assignment by your boss, let's say, or by your teacher, then you fail to attend it accordingly. You are an irresponsible student. Now, we should, this behavior of being an irresponsible person, it must be stopped. Now, in the novel, Nanga displays an irresponsible person or acts as a person who is irresponsible since he fails to provide social services to the people or to the voters. Remember in the book, Nanga was elected by this downtrodden majority, believing that he will provide the services or the social services needed in that particular society, including water, electricity, roads, etc. Now, instead, Nanga uses his position to enrich himself and his family, as he buys himself an expensive car. He builds a decent house in Ibori. He sends his children to expensive schools. Now, again, he plans to construct roads, not to serve the people, but because he has ordered his own buses from abroad to make business. So the roads that Nanga plans to construct, not because he loves the people, but because of the buses, of the cars that he has ordered already to come to operate in his province. Now, Odili in the novel tells us all this, that the construction is not meant to help people. Again, Nanga's irresponsibility is also proven in his speech delivery, where he congratulates Mr. Jario for being a musician while Jario is a writer. We are told in the novel, Nanga did not have enough preparation while he was invited to deliver a speech. And he was busy with the women. Now, in his speech, he's congratulating Mr. Jairo for being a musician, while Mr. Jairo was a very famous writer. Now, this proves that this man is irresponsible. When it comes to public activities, Nanga is such an irresponsible person. Now, back to a society. Do we have people of Nanga's sort or Nanga's type who are irresponsible? So in your paragraph, you should add like two to three sentences showing that irresponsible people or readers are also present. Not all, some. Of course, yes, we have some leaders who are really committed. But again, we have also some leaders who are very responsible when it comes to perform their duties. So think of adding such sentences of telling how relevant this point is to your society. Again, at the end of the paragraph, now cement your point by saying such a behavior of being irresponsible should be stopped, because it may lead to underdevelopment. If you have readers who are responsible, obvious, it will be so hard to achieve socio-economic and political development in the country. Every reader should be committed, should be responsible to the duties he or she has been assigned. Students, let's just move to another point. Here we come. The behavior of hypocrisy displayed by Chifranga makes me hate him. Now, with the word hypocrisy means a state of pretending or being honest, behaving in a way that in a dishonest way. You're just trying to fake people that you are honest, you are committed, while in fact you are not. Now, in the novel, Nanga pretends to dislike his ministerial post. Remember, Nanga is a minister, students. Now here, he pretends that such a post is so demanding, makes him so busy, so he hates this post. While in fact, this post, being a minister, Nanga is gaining a lot. Being a minister, Nanga is enjoying. He's having a good life because of this post. But now he's telling the public that if somebody comes today and tell you to become a minister, run away. Of which that behavior is hypocrisy. Now he says he regrets quitting teaching profession, while in fact he gains a lot by being a minister. Remember, Nanga, before becoming a minister, was a teacher. He quitted the post, then he joins with politics, then later on become a minister. But now he pretends that he's regretting quitting the teaching profession, of which it's not true. Now, such behavior or having a hypocrisy, people in a society, ask yourself: do you have people who behave like Nanga by being hypocrite, who pretends? Do we have leaders of this sort? If we have, then you should rebuke, or we should say no to such behavior. Living in the society where we have hypocrites, then obvious it will lead into conflicts, into chaos. We need to have people who are honest. Dear students, let us again move to next point. Now, here are the extra points. There are so many things that you can point out or you can explain as to why you dislike Nanga. Nanga is disliked because he's an oppressor or harasses people. Remember, Nanga using his bodyguards. He harassed Odili. Odili was beaten till become unconscious. He was admitted in the hospital. He couldn't even contest for an election. Now, if a person allows his bodyguards or his guards to beat other people, that is injustice. That is contrary to the rule of law. But Nanga is doing that. You can add another point of saying power monger. That Nanga is able to use alternative at his disposal to make sure that he maintains his position as a leader, as an MP, even by killing people, beating people. He never give room for others to contest. He always strive to contest for an election and win without opposition, because he loves power. Students, before coming to another character, who is Joseph Thompson, in the novel titled The Beautiful Ones Are Not Born, let's just a short break, then we'll come back. Students, welcome back to our second character. And our character here, as said from the introduction, is Joseph Thompson, from a novel titled The Beautiful Ones Are Not Born. Is one of the characters I dislike due to the following reasons. Joseph Thompson is disliked because untrustworthy person. He deceives Oyo and her mother to sign papers so that become shareholders in the so-called boat deal. But later, he betrayed them, and the boat became the property of his daughter, Princess, whose name was Princess. You remember this, my dear students, that this minister, Thompson, he went to Oyo and Oyo's mother. He told them to collude so they can sign a paper so that they become a shareholder in the fishing boat they were planning to buy. Now, this was just a trick by Joseph Thompson, a trick of buying such a boat. After buying such a boat, then Oyo and their mother had nothing. Now, we see later that Joseph Thompson betrayed them. After the boat being bought, then that boat became a property of the family. Now, with that behavior, a person who is untrustworthy should be avoided, because he goes against an agreement. You agree to perform certain duty, but later on that person betrays you. This is what happened to Oyo and his mother. They were betrayed. Now, coming to a society, the people of Thompson's type, they're also there, who uses other people's names other people's back so as they benefit. They organize a deal using others' names or other people's signature. But later on, when that thing come to materialize, then such people are being ignored. Now, such a behavior, again, has to be stopped. People should live a trustworthy life and not otherwise. Living a trustworthy life will make a world a better place. Dear students, let us move to the next point. An immoral behavior of Joseph Thompson makes one to dislike him. Being an immoral, a person who doesn't observe the moral values, the moral standards in a given society, that person has to be avoided, has to be disliked. Now, in the novel, the author narrates the way Thompson makes love with young girls. Koyama tells us that Thompson loves young vagina. These are not my words, my students. You remember this novel very well. So Thompson enjoys making love with young girls, the girls who are supposed to be at school. But this man is such an immoral person, a person who we cannot even learn from him. Given his age, he was supposed to be an example to others. But this man is behaving in an immoral way. Again, Thompson uses public funds to pay for places so that he goes there and make love with such young girls. The money from taxpayers, Thompson uses such money to pay the lodge or the guest houses so as he make love with his girls. This behavior is contrary to the values of the society, to the social values or norms of the given society, and that's why this person is being disliked. Now, in your society, remember, literature reflects what is happening in society. Now, in your society, do we have people people like Thompson who loves to make love with young girls? Now, if they are there, use 2 lines to tell that in your society there are also people who are immoral, just like Thompson. Then give an advice. What are you telling them? That such a people like Thompson should be avoided. Such a person like Thompson should be taken to the court of law. Such a person like Thompson should be alienated from the society. Because Thompson is not there to build a just society, to build a society which is morally upright. It's destroying the generation or the young generation. Dear students, let us move to the next point. Point or reason as to why we dislike Thompson is misuse of public resources. Makes me dislike Joseph Thompson, or makes one dislike Joseph Thompson because of misusing the public resources. In the novel, Thompson buys himself expensive car. His family dresses expensively. He educates his children to expensive school using public funds. Yet we are told that in his society there are children, or there are some people who are poor. But this man is misusing the resources. Remember the man's children who are barefooting. But Thompson is misusing these public resources. And the minister was supposed to to use such resources wisely, equally, have to distribute such resources equally, that everyone should enjoy from that small cake they're having. But the cake that is present in that particular society, Thompson is having a lion's share, while others are starving. While he drives an expensive car, there's some people, or there's some children who are barefooting, without shoes. Now, these people who are misusing public resources, they are also present in your society. Such leaders who misuse such public resources have to be taken to the court of law and answer the charges. Or such leaders should be voted out during election and elect leaders who are clean, who cares about others' welfare, and eventually will create a society in which every person enjoys the national resources. Students, let us move to another point. The selfishness behavior of Joseph Thompson makes me dislike him. The tendency of caring about oneself, being so much concerned about your personal welfare, or being so much concerned with my personal welfare and neglecting others' welfare. This is the behavior of Thompson. He always in the novel strives to accumulate wealth so as he become richer and richer. As we have seen, he buys himself a fishing boat through suspicious means. If you read the novel again, Joseph Thompson was just a harbor man, but he used suspicious means to become a minister, so as he continued accumulating more wealth. That is Joseph Thompson. Now, in your society again, do we have a people of Joseph Thompson type who are selfish? Now, what is your call to people who are selfish? Students, let us move to next point. I dislike Joseph Thompson because of his pomposity behavior. Now, this behavior of being pomposity or pompous is a state where one feels or regards himself or herself as a special one. He blows a trumpet to himself that he's such a special or peculiar person. Now, in the novel, we see Thompson refuses to use the toilet of the man, claiming that such a toilet is not of his standard. Now, this behavior again has to be rebuked, has to be stopped. Having such a feelings of pomposity or being pompous, it's a bad behavior. And people may be running away from you. You won't be having friends because of that such behavior. So, if there are students who behave, who have this pride, or who are pompous, have to be stopped. It's a behavior that eventually will lead to you lacking friends or not having friends because of such behavior. Students, Joseph Thompson is also disliked because he entertains corrupt practices. In the novel, the author tells that initially Thompson was just a harborman, but through corrupt means, he immediately became a minister. Now, he uses corrupt means of gaining power. So to him, bribing people is okay. Now, if you have such leaders in a society who are corrupt, then it's very hard to build a justice society. Again, it's very hard to realize the socio-economic and political development in the given nation. And again, such leaders have to be voted out during election. or such corrupt leaders, again, it should be taken to the court of law and answer or respond to the charges due to their corrupt deeds. Students, now, here is our conclusion. There are so many ways of concluding your essay. Remember your question that give reason as to why you dislike such characters. Now, your conclusion should reflect the requirement of the question, or what the question wants you to do. Would say, it can be concluded that characters with unacceptable practices should not be applauded in the society. Such characters should be avoided, and if need be, such characters should be voted out during election. If they are leaders or they are politicians of such unacceptable behavior, should be uprooted. But again, one will say, if the society is to prosper in all spheres of life, needs to uproot all characters who display evil doings. Also, can be a conclusion to your essay question of this sort. Students, now let us look at the alternative questions. Now, remember, the first question we are doing, it was all about reasons as to why you dislike such characters. Now, look at this question. Choose two characters from two different readings, one character from each reading, and describe their negative traits. This is the same as why you dislike such character, or why you dislike somebody. It's because of the negative traits, the traits which do not please you. So, again, use 4 points from each character. Students, with this, with the next question, that choose two characters from two different readings, one character from each reading, and explain why you admire such characters. Now, with this one, you need to explain or give reasons why you admire such characters, why you like such characters. And of course, you'll be liking or admiring such characters because of their positive traits. They are displaying things or acts which gives you pleasure, and you'd love or you wish to learn from them, or you call upon the society to learn from such characters because you are admiring them. Now, it would be unusual seeing students now, you are told to explain why you admire such characters, then you go for negative traits, or you give a point which shows that you dislike such characters. That would be wrong. Now, choose the appropriate novels that you think fits in this particular question, together with this again, the first question, of which I trust that you are capable to attempt this particular question. Students, this marks the end of our session today. Thank you for your attention.